All Memphis music all the time, WVZM. We are 100.3 on your FM dial in the heart of Memphis, in downtown and midtown. But if you're outside the loop, you'd probably tune us in better at WVZM.org, and you can stream us there. I'm Rick Tarrant, and our guest today is Kirk Whalum with a brand new album called Humanité. And I have a question that, heading out the door this morning, my wife wanted to ask you. And she said, ask him about his mom and dad. And how did they influence his parenting? Because they have such an amazing family.
How sweet! Well, that is a beautiful compliment.
That's from Christy. So.
Thank you, Christy. I'm grateful for that. Of course, as you know, the thing that someone once said of them, when they're in their final chapters, it's not so much that you got a Grammy. It's about that. It's about, what kind of a parent were you? And in this case, grandparent. And so, yeah, I am grateful for my folks, and my mom is still with us. I just drove out to hang out with her and my stepdad in Kansas City. So hi, Helen and Ormer, and I just love you so much. I am grateful for, it was a sheltered upbringing for sure, in many ways, because there's sort of the microcosm of a Baptist church, being a PK, growing up in the home of the pastor. My dad pretty much pastored all the kids in the church. I mean, they all called him Reverend Daddy. That was his nickname. And they all looked to him. Even to this day, many of my friends who went to church with us, they still considered, like their dad passed away, when my dad passed. I'm grateful for the example that my parents set for us. My mother made it a point, when I was apparently serious about the saxophone. She made sure that I had the top line saxophone, right?
Wow.
And that's a big deal. First of all, it's a big deal that I already had a school-issued instrument that I spent those first years developing on, because now that's not the case. Now it's not a given.
Disappearing rapidly.
Yeah, they're people are just sort of dumping all these kids in the public system. I went to public school. I'm saying, when I say they're abandoning those kids who are in the public system is what I'm saying.
Well, and when you look at the history of Memphis music, I mean, you look at the Teen Town Singers and A.C. Williams from Booker T, and you look at Isaac Hayes and David Porter and Maurice Jones
White.
and Maurice White. All of them were in band programs.
In the public school system.
Absolutely.
And there were plenty of instruments, because the federal government made sure of it, and the state government made sure that we had instruments.
And that fed into stacks and.
So again, it's just somebody real smart decided that we just didn't need that anymore. But, and same people I think maybe decided we didn't need public schools anymore. So it's those are other conversations for another day. But just to say that I had an instrument the day I decided in the 7th grade that I wanted to be in the band, period. And I had a choice of instruments. But then my mom, she was like, okay, now you're going to be a senior, and at Christmas, man, I got a King Super 20 saxophone.
A King Super 20?
Yeah, and that's the one that Cannonball used to play. So, believe me, man, I was over the top.
Well, it's always good to have good tools.
So I have, we've tried to do the same thing. Our kids are all doing really well. I'm grateful. One is a musician, so I can speak about him. He's touring with Kelly Clarkson, and yeah, when he got serious about the bass, we made sure he had a good bass to play, and a car to drive to rehearsal, And so Kyle is now moving as we speak to LA, because Kelly Clarkson now has a TV show. So when you look at the Kelly Clarkson show, look for that short, handsome guy on the bass. His name's Kyle Whalum.
Extraordinary. Well, let's hear another song from Humanité. If you're of a certain age, you'll remember this song from Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, featuring the fabulous voice of Teddy Pendergrass. Wake up, everybody, at 100.3 WVZM.
Wake up, everybody, no more sleeping in bed. No more backward thinking, time for thinking ahead. The world has changed so very much from what it used to be. There is so much hatred, war and poverty. Wake up all the teachers, time to teach a new way. listen to what you have to say, 'cause they're the ones who coming up and the world is in their hands. When you teach the children, teach them the very best you can. The world won't get no better if we just let it be. The world won't get no better. We gotta change it, yeah. Just you and me. Wake up all the doctors, make the old people well. They're the ones who suffer and catch all the hell. But they don't have so very long before the judgment day. So won't you make them happy before they pass away? Oh, wake up all the builders, time to build a new land. Know that we can do it if we all lend a hand. The only thing we have to do is to put it in our mind. Surely things will work out, 'cause they do it every time. The world won't get no better if we just let it be. The world won't get no better. We gotta change it, yeah. Just you and me. Just you and me. You and me. The world won't get no better if we just let it be. The world won't get no better. We gotta change it. Sing with me, yeah. The world won't get no better. Oh, baby, if we just let it be. The world won't get no better. We gotta change it. Just you and me. Just you and me. Just you and me. Gotta change it, yeah. Oh, we gotta change it, yeah. Just you and me, just you and me, just you and me.
Hey, this is Kirk Whalum. Thank you so much for listening to my new record. Really, really glad to share it with you. It's sort of a life work. It's called Humanité. And man, I'm hoping Memphis is going to love it at 100.3 WVZM.org.
Hey, this is Rick Tarrant. Thanks for listening to this production that was created for WVZM 100.3 in Memphis, Tennessee. You can hear demos of my voiceover work and other productions at my website, ricktarrant.com. Thanks again.